Hey everybody, it's Clint Walker. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Appraiser Secrets. It's a beautiful day in Middle Tennessee. I just got the phone with an agent who had a question about pricing a property in a rural market, and I thought I'd call and not call you, but make a quick video and share the scenario with you. This agent's pricing a property in a rural market. It's about 50 miles outside of Nashville, and the property's got a 12-stall horse barn with a decent living quarters in it, shower, bathroom, and it's got a mechanic shop that a car person would really enjoy, and the agent can't find comps in the area that are close by, which is where you naturally start looking to comp this off of. So he's wanted some advice on pricing that, and he wanted to know how an appraiser would do it. So an appraiser looks at this as sort of in a priority system. We first would really like to find a property that has a similar house and a 12-stall horse barn with a little apartment in it and a mechanic shop. So to try to find that, we would first start very close by the subject, but then if we can't find it there, we are going to look farther. And contrary to popular belief, there is no limit to how far we can look to find this identical property. If we have to go 15, 20, 30 miles, that's fine, as long as we explain that we've done that and why we did it, because it does merit some explanation. And that's what I told this agent: go far and wide to try to find an identical property, because you probably can. I've personally appraised properties that have those side improvements on there. The one I did was much further than 30 miles from where this agent's pricing one, but they're out there, and the first priority is to go and find that property. The key component to going far and wide for that comp is to try to stay in a market that has similar appeal to the one that you're in. So if you're appraising a property that's in a small town 50 miles outside of the metropolitan center, you might look in a circumference about the same distance from that metropolitan center all the way around it, or it'll vary by market, but in your market you use your best judgment. You're pricing a property for a buyer who's looking in a certain place. If other areas in that market offer similar things that a similar buyer might want, they are you can pull from those markets. Maybe they've got they appeal to or they have homes that are similar values. You can, a buyer who had a certain budget could buy a house in any of those markets, and there's no reason they wouldn't want to. So it doesn't really matter how far away those are from the subject. You can use those because they're similar in that way. An appraiser can use those because they're similar in that way. If you can't find that, the next thing that an appraiser could do, or that this buyer could do, which would not be as compelling evidence, but it still is reasonable, you can call a contractor in that market, and you can find out how much it would cost to build those side improvements. And then if the side improvements on the subject currently are 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, you can find out a depreciation rate and depreciate the existing improvements. Then you can go and find a property nearby that doesn't have those things. So if it's a 2,000 square foot house on 5 acres but doesn't have the horse barn and the shop, you can take one of those as a theoretically minimum price or minimum value and add the depreciated cost of building those improvements onto that. Once you've done that, you then need to test to make sure that total price is reasonable and affordable, economical in your market. But it's another way to sort of test the to sort of get to the price, test the reasonableness of your price, and try to come up with something that serves your seller or serves your client when there's really no perfect data out there to come to it another way. An appraiser would not love that information, especially for lending purposes, because lenders want to have proof that something has been done before, that this property is not an anomaly. When things do appear to be anomalies, they tend to get a zero value on an appraisal because there's no proof from closed sales. There's no proof that a buyer has ever paid for that stuff before. It is entirely possible that a person, an owner of a property, can go and add all this stuff for their specific needs to a property, and nobody else needs that, or nobody else wants it. And so why would anybody else pay for it? This was the case with in-ground pools for a long time. People expected, buyers' attitudes towards that was the seller wanted it, the seller foot the bill, and they don't expect or shouldn't expect to get a return on it. And they didn't necessarily get a zero value, but they got a very low value for a long time. These things change based on buyer demand. But so look at these things in sort of a priority list. You can examine the cost to do it. If there's a high probability that a buyer who didn't have it existing would definitely go out and build it themselves, that's sort of more reason to look at that depreciated, we call it a depreciated replacement cost, and you try to come to it through with some more creative ways, just to understand the priority system that an appraiser uses, which is closed sales proving that a buyer has already paid for it. So there's your little short tidbit for today. I hope that helps you, and I hope you have a great week.